we're good to go.
All right. With that, I'm going to go ahead and call to order the September 20th, 2021 Planning Commission meeting. And with that, I'm going to do roll call. Commissioner Heising.
Present.
Commissioner Labange.
Present.
Commissioner Maggio.
Present.
Commissioner Mason.
Present.
Commissioner Sturm.
Present.
Vice Chair Radnich.
Present.
And Chair Farzan is also present. Greg, do we have any public comments on items not on tonight's calendar or an upcoming agenda item?
If you would like to make a comment on any item that is within the purview of the Planning Commission that's not on tonight's agenda or an upcoming agenda, please go ahead and raise your hand now. Seeing none.
Okay, thank you. We will move to item number 4, which is the consent calendar. We have draft meetings for August 2nd and August 16th of 2021. Any comments or corrections on either one of those 2 meetings from any of the commissioners?
No.
Okay, it looks like none. I'll open the floor for moving on the consent calendar.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, I'll go ahead and take roll, take the vote. Commissioner Heising,
Aye.
Commissioner Labange,
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturm,
Aye.
Vice Chair Radnich,
Aye.
and Chair Farzan, aye. Thank you very much. We're going to move to item number 5, which is continued public hearings. 5A is HDP 27-29, V18-19, and TP 26-20, Ron Carr for LR5 zoning. And I believe that was Renita who was there, I believe, for the staff report. Am I correct?
Yes. Can you see me?
We can hear you, but not see you.
Okay. My video seems to not be working at this time. Is it okay if I proceed without video? Okay.
I'm perfectly fine with that, please.
Okay. It is not working still. Not sure what's going on. Okay. Good evening, commissioners. Sorry about the technical difficulty. Before the commission again tonight is application HDP 27-19, which is a phase 1 hillside development permit to construct a new 1-story, 2,367 square foot single family residence and a 3,000 square foot accessory building on 2 vacant lots on a class 2 ridgeline in the Hillside Overlay District. Tonight, staff will summarize the comments provided by the commission at the August 2nd meeting and review the revisions provided by the applicant. Staff recommends the commission review the project, conduct a public hearing, adopt the mitigated negative declaration under CEQA, and adopt Planning Commission Resolution 2021-15, approving the project subject to conditions. The project was introduced to the Planning Commission during the August 2nd meeting, during which the commission expressed general support for the height and massing of both the residence and the accessory structure. The commission was also supportive of the request for a variance to encroach into the setbacks, the cluster development on the flat hilltop, which is in conformance with the hillside regulations. The commission did request the applicant relocating the single family residence away from this southwestern open slope to reduce offsite visibility and the requirement for grading and retaining walls. Another suggestion was to adjust the building orientation to open this central courtyard towards the south and capture more of the views of Mount Diablo. And finally, the commission did seek information regarding the potential requirements for fire access along Echo Springs Road. During the hearing, there was public comment regarding construction traffic and potential impacts on the private road. In response to commission comments, the applicant did relocate the residence away from the southwestern edge of the hilltop and closer to the property line shared by the subject parcels. This change in building location reduced the amount of grading from 590 cubic yards to 260 cubic yards and further reduced potential impacts to neighbor privacy by almost eliminating the potential direct views downward from those rooms inside. In this location, the project takes advantage of that most buildable portion of the lot where it is flattest currently, and limits encroachment into these steeper slope areas, which is sought after in the hillside overlay regulations. The proposal still complies with those hillside standards by situating in an area of 30% slope or less, and preserving that open space and geological features surrounding the site. While the building was modified, building footprint was modified in response to commission comments, the applicant opted to not adjust the building massing to open the courtyard to the south. This is a phase 1 application intended to establish the overall siting and massing for the proposal and consider its potential impacts for privacy, grading, drainage, all those items. However, this project will undergo a phase 2 review with the Design Review Commission to consider and refine the more design and aesthetic elements of the structures, and adjustments to the massing may be considered at that time. At the previous hearing for this project, the commission discussed the driveway design and layout. The new plans show a hammerhead driveway to the north of the residence, which is also in that existing flat area of the site. The new residence location and resulting driveway layout would not increase the number of trees proposed for removal to construct that driveway, which was the key point of consideration for the commission reviewing this project. As shown here, the driveway for the residence does cross that northern parcel to establish access to the southern lot, and staff consulted with the city attorney regarding this access point. And to preempt any future issues surrounding site access, the city attorney did recommend requiring an access easement be recorded for the driveway, though the lots are owned by the same party. A project-specific condition has been included requiring the applicant to record an access easement prior to issuance of a building permit. And staff finds this driveway to be appropriate for this context, given the site constraints, the concerns about grading and tree removal raised previously by the commission, as well as fire access requirements. Similarly, in response to the commission's request for information regarding fire access to the site via Echo Springs Road, for private roads like Echo Springs, the ConFire requires substantial information on the roadway to be able to make determinations about these access requirements. This information includes road dimensions, the type of the surface, the roadway slope, ownership for the length of the road between the property's driveway and the nearest public right-of-way. And without this information or a finalized set of construction drawings, ConFire could not provide further comments on fire access requirements for the project or the private road. Staff has received several public comments regarding maintaining pedestrian access to Leones Park. Requirements to provide a public access or trail easement must demonstrate a nexus between increased demand for recreation facilities and the project's scope, such as a subdivision application. Staff has been in contact with the neighbors, as well as the Parks, Trail and Recreation Commission Trail Subcommittee surrounding this request. And the director of Parks, Trails and Recreation Department has expressed willingness to facilitate future conversations between parties. However, because there's not a substantial increase from the construction of a single family home, the establishing an easement on this property is a private matter that cannot be a requirement of project approval at this time. However, staff will continue to support any conversations moving forward. With the modifications to the building footprint or siting, the staff is able to make all of the findings required for this project and recommends that the Planning Commission review the project, hold a public hearing, adopt the mitigated declaration, and adopt Planning Commission Resolution 2021-15, approving the project subject to conditions. Staff is available for any questions.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Vice Chair Radnich.
Thank you. Renata, I have a question regarding a comment we received. So we did receive a comment that you forwarded after, let's say after hours, but I think after 12 p.m. today. And it was regarding just the overall concern of fire. So it got me just thinking and looking at these plans. I'm looking at my other screen where I haven't pulled up, but we've only been talking about the driveway for the residents. So I was wondering, there is a barn on, just north of the residence that has its own driveway. How are barns treated versus a residence, or is the thought that a fire truck could come in on the hammerhead and it's within 150 feet or so, their hose length to reach the barn? I wish I would have thought of this last meeting or earlier today to give you a chance to respond, but has there been any concern or discussion regarding how a fire truck or how fire personnel would potentially access the barn, or is that not something that's really a primary consideration on a proposed project, and the main structure is the consideration? Are you able to walk us through that a little bit?
I don't think I have the specifics about the thresholds for a truck's distance and lines to be able to fight fire. But my overall understanding, we did refer out the plans with the previous proposed site, which was further away from that barn accessory building.
Yeah, true.
And that was not brought up explicitly in Confire's comments on the product. And so I'm not totally familiar with what they are looking at in their requirements for that access.
Okay, that's
But
sure.
they will need to be able to provide adequate water supply for them, and so it could be that a hydrant be required. Rather, it will be required as part of their comment letter. So I think they can run lines through either driveway.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions, Commissioner Mason?
Yeah, Renata, can you just go through how we're looking at this whole project? Basically my questions come around the barn. Is this, ADUs are limited to 1,200 square feet, but, existing structures can be converted to ADUs. We've got SB9, it's on 2 separate lots. Looking at this as a single family residence with a barn is one discussion. Looking at it with a potential ADU that would be approved administratively is a third. A lot split and 2 homes is a third discussion altogether. I'm not sure whether this goes in phase 1 or you want to carry this over to phase 2, but I'm just trying to wrap my head around it, because a barn has a specific code reference. It is generally determined to be not habitable other than ancillary uses, not like an office or a residence. So sorry for springing on that on you.
So your point is well taken, Commissioner Mason. But I think it involves some supposition or presumptions on our part, and we're bound to consider what is being proposed at this point in time, understanding that there are other opportunities for the property owner to create an accessory dwelling unit, a junior accessory dwelling unit, and now take advantage of SB9. But we're looking at it under existing code as it is currently presented to us.
No, that's not the question.
Okay.
The question is more just, okay, ADUs are limited 1,200 square feet. But existing structures can be converted to ADUs. Could this barn be converted to essentially a 3,000 square foot ADU? Since it's on 2 separate lots, ADUs are tied to the single ownership with that in the home. Is this if this was a lot, essentially a lot split back to 2 ADUs, 2 separate dwelling units, would that come before us? I'm just trying to get a feel for what the various procedures would be if the owner decide to take advantage of the options that are available to them. I'm not trying to foreclose any options. I'm just trying to understand.
Sure. So an accessory dwelling unit under our code is actually accessory to a primary dwelling unit on a parcel. And so absent a primary unit on the barn parcel, even if that unit, well, if you create a unit from the barn, that would be a primary unit. It may be of any size then, because you're not restricted to the 1,200 square feet under ADU. So one can only create an ADU if there is a primary unit. And we've had this circumstance in the past where a property in the Hillside Overlay District presented and gained approval for a larger main house and an accessory dwelling unit. They chose to build the ADU first. And I still believe they're living in that about 10 years later. They just never went forward with the bigger primary residence. Don't know the reason behind it, but it's a lovely ADU and may be meeting their needs. So at such time as the main house, the larger house would have been built and that certificate of occupancy would have been issued, we would have then the ADU would have truly become an ADU and the restrictions thereon would apply.
Thank you.
Do we have any other questions? Just one follow-up to Vice Chair Radnich's question about fire access, just to confirm for the record, looking at the staff report, the plans still have to go through the fire department in the next phase, just so everybody's clear here. That's still an issue, but it's not in our hands. They still have to approve them. Just correct.
Yes, that is correct.
Great. Thank you.
And they will go through fire district review essentially a third time at the time of submission of construction drawings to actually build it.
Thank you. I just wanted to make sure that people knew we weren't just handing off, we're not deciding that issue because they couldn't give an opinion on it now, but it will still go before them and they will have to approve whatever the final plans are. With that, I will open up the floor for the applicant.
I'll bring in the property owner applicant, Ron Meyer. So he's currently experiencing radius. Wow. Okay, yeah, he's coming in. So once he arrives, then we can ask him to present.
Hello.
Hello.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, you have the floor, sir.
I'm just seeking to get my permit.
Sometimes it's that easy. So in any presentation from you, Mr. Nar?
No, I don't. I'm sorry. There we go. No, I don't have any presentation. I basically have just read the staff report and agree with everything that you guys want, and hopefully we can move forward.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any questions for Mr. Nar from the commissioners? It does not appear that we have any, so you might have had the quickest presentation ever. Hold on, we do have one question. Commissioner Labange.
I just wanted to make sure we address some of the comments about trail access. And I don't know if, and I wasn't present on the previous meeting, and I should have reviewed that in the notes, but was that addressed then? And if not, can we just make sure that's addressed now? And
Well,
so
according to, go ahead.
all I was going to say, so my question to you would be, I don't know exactly how it's used or who uses it and if it's legally used, but I'm sure you're more familiar. So if you could share your perspective, that'd be great.
Well, right now I've been talking with the Parks and Recreation about easements and liability, and it's pretty much just at a talking stage right now.
Oh, okay. I mean, I guess I would, unless someone else is going to discuss this, just to represent the folks who put questions in, do you have, assuming you can get comfortable with liability and the such, and I understand there's, you have to take that into consideration. Do you have a position on what you want to do, in terms of be active in keeping trails open to people who may or may not be using across your property, or I just am trying to have full disclosure here.
Well, I haven't made any decision at this time. I'm actually concerned about liability because of things that have happened in the past, but I'm open for discussion.
Oh, okay. Does anyone else have a perspective on this from previous that maybe I'm not aware of? So I just think it's good to get it out now.
So I can tell you generally the open issue was that Mr. Nahr and his counsel were open to it, but liability was an issue and there were discussions going on. That's kind of where we left the last meeting with respect to this easement or access.
Okay.
Commissioner Sturm?
I have a question related to this for staff. I pulled up the larger trail map today and to get a sense of where the main trails are that are somewhat adjacent to the property. And I guess the access we're talking about is people walking up the pavement, the paved road. I know that for many of the trails, there are identified cut throughs from the city right of way to the trail. And I thought the Parks and Rec Department, entered into conversations with the different private property owners about creating easements so that it's open to the public to cut through, maybe part of their yard or something. I wasn't sure if this situation that we're talking about with this project is different from some of the other locations around town.
It would be through a similar process of working with property owner to establish an easement and, hours of access and maintenance obligations. But I'm not sure if that's answering your question.
Yeah, I guess what my question / statement is that there's a protocol for this can be done. Like this is done in other areas around
Yes.
town with whatever easements established. You can, put, you can address the liability within the language of the easement. We have that with one of our direct neighbors where we share a driveway and, we talk about, if we have construction crews coming down there, then we will repair any damage and you can outline all of that. So I just want to put my 2 cents in that. It doesn't, based on what I know happens in other areas in Lafayette to support our trail system in the community, it doesn't seem like an insurmountable thing to provide trail access here in a way that's comfortable for both HUD-MUD and the private property owner.
Commissioner Maggio?
Thank you, Chair. I know in this earlier in discussions and then again tonight, staff mentioned that this was a private matter between the owner and the park. And so I'm wondering if you could elaborate on that. So it is not necessarily a decision for us or the city tonight, but why is this instance a private matter when we've had, as Commissioner Strum mentioned earlier, we've had similar situations and they ended up in the conditions of approval?
Sure. So it has happened in other projects in the city as part of those subdivisions. So when a larger area is divided, there will be sections that are designated as scenic easements or trail easements and, provide that right of public access. But when we say it's a private matter, it's a granting of access, right? And it's, since we don't have control, it's more, in previous projects, I understand that the owners came in with an understanding that that was something that they would do as part of the project, and that was not the case here. And since we are unable to require it, that's where the distinction comes in. Is Mr. Nar is not, is still working with the Parks, Trails, and Recreation to work through what it would mean to have an easement on his property. But it was not part of the initial proposal.
And perhaps a better term might be separate matter rather than private matter, because it does involve essentially a public access easement or public entities. But it is the grant of that easement is not a function of his phase 1 hillside development.
But it's appropriate, even though we're not deciding on it, it's appropriate to be part of our discussion because it is referenced in the hillside ordinance and like the general plan that one of the city's goals is to maintain and provide access to the trail system.
Agreed, and not to have a home sited in a place that would impinge upon an existing or future trail. Yes.
Do we have any other questions for the applicant? Thank you. We'll open it up to public comment.
If you would like to make a public comment, please do go ahead and raise your hand now, and you'll be promoted into be a panelist, and you can offer your comments. We're not seeing any going once. So raise hand function is at the bottom of the screen. Going twice, seeing none.
Thank you. We'll bring it back to the applicant. Is Mr. Nar still here?
He is currently an attendee. So while we took in all of the public comment, would be brought back in. So if he would like to make a rebuttal, there's nothing to rebuttal. If he has anything to
That's what I was going to open up the floor to see if there's anything he wanted to add before we brought it back to the commission.
If so, go ahead, hit the raise hand, please. Seeing none.
Okay, great. With that, I will bring this matter back to the commission for discussions, and I'll open the floor. Going back to Greg.
His hand is raised, so I'm going to bring him in now. So
okay, great.
You'll be in transit momentarily.
Sure. Thank you.
Go ahead, Mr. Nar. You're muted.
You're still on mute.
There you go. Sorry, I'm pretty new to this, and anyway.
That's okay. I like the arm coming across. That was good. So the floor is yours if you have any closing thoughts you'd like us to hear.
No, I think everything is going according to plan. I mean, I appreciate everyone's time, and I know this is a long process, and I just want to keep moving forward.
Appreciate that. Thank you very much. With that, I'll bring the matter back to the commission. And I will open the floor, Commissioner Heising.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. Just a general comment. We oftentimes, we thank applicants when we hear an item and then we make comments, and then when they come back, they show us that they responded to the comments, and we get a before and after picture, and it's really great. And we always tell them how good it is to be able to see that for us as commissioners. And I just want to extend that to Renata's presentation, because I can say that her presentation was an excellent presentation, because as she went through the presentation, she ticked off every single thing we talked about at the first time, and she addressed everything. And that was why I didn't have any questions for her, because she hit everything. And then we rolled into this discussion. And Stephen, I know you weren't at the last meeting, but we talked about the importance of trail access and everything. And I guess I'd just like to say that to Renata. That was a great staff report. And I can fully support this project. I believe I said a similar statement at the last meeting. So I would make one suggestion that if we, when we follow up, I would ask that staff maybe follow up with the property owners in the association down below and let them know that this matter was discussed by the commissioners in case they weren't here, and that we too had a concern, and that I totally understand what Renata was saying, that because we're not subdividing, we don't have the nexus, or the Subdivision Map Act doesn't give us the right to condition something like this. And it is a private access property easement or access road going up there. So it's at the discretion of the property owner, and which I too would enjoy that privilege if I would like to have that right if I was this property owner. So I might even suggest that, I mean, Greg made the comment about it being a public access easement. I mean, if I was the HOA down below, I'd get smart and I'd make a pitch to the property owner for some sort of a access easement just for those people that live down below, and make it a private access easement. And, you make it worthwhile for the property owner to address his liability concerns, and just leave it at that. I mean, we can't require anything. We can just maybe suggest a way that those property owners down below could get access to the park. And at least access to the park for those few property owners down below, albeit it's not as good as public access easement for everybody in the community, but it at least gets those people the right or the ability to get on the park, which they seem to enjoy now. So with all that long-windedness, I'd be happy to make a motion after everybody makes their comments as well. Thanks.
Thank you. I believe Commissioner Sturm had her hand up. So, and I will say before that, I want to second Renata's work on this. Really well done. I agree all the way around.
Ditto that. Thanks for Commissioner Heising, and thanks for bringing that up. So probably the same as everyone else. I appreciate the fire truck turnaround was moved, and the driveway was adjusted, and I think moving the floor plan back away from the edge was huge in terms of further reducing visibility. And we didn't talk about it last time, but there were going to be significant retaining walls on the southwest side. So the fact that those seem to have gone away is important too, I think, for the perceived height of the development offsite. So my other thoughts in terms of, since we're looking at siding, I'm happy with the siding that's shown. And then my other thoughts on the project in terms of massing are the same as I previously expressed, because the design was not adjusted to be more in keeping with our residential design guidelines. So I went back and reviewed the residential design guidelines again and went through the hillside development ordinance. And you can see one of our key figures, residential design guidelines. So this is essentially the block-like structure that we have in the proposal. And given, it's on this kind of plateau that was created at some point, or maybe is naturally occurring, it is set back, but it's still this kind of form rather than a form that's stepping or opening up to the hillside. So we have a very strong design review commission. I think that, I'm prepared to approve the height and the siting of the project, and trust that the design review commission can work with the applicant on the form. But I wanted to share, just for the record, and then for being fully communicative with the rest of the commission, that in the last meeting on this item, I was pretty perplexed that I wasn't hearing some consensus on the compliance with the residential design guidelines, and I felt reassured that my feelings and thoughts on it were in line with staff, but it seemed like I was definitely a minority in the commission. So just to double check my thinking on this, I did touch base with one of the design review commissioners, and they were in just initial take on it. They were in agreement on the massing of it not being in keeping with the residential design guidelines. And they had a helpful way to sort of express that the kind of architecture that this proposal is drawing inspiration from is an agrarian architecture. And you can see in the pictures, the photographs that are in the plan set, that kind of architecture is more block-like, and it's meant to stand out in contrast to pastures or, a fields of, farming activities. And it's meant to be visible from a distance. And that kind of form is, obviously in contrast with what we want in our hillside where things are blending in. So I appreciate that the hillside ordinance addresses our viewing sites, and we did address the immediate neighbors. And, we always talk about visibility from the immediate neighbors' vantage points and also any privacy issues. And those are not issues with this project. But if you can stand at the house site and you can see other houses, then that house site is visible from the surrounding area. And while it may not, cause issues with the other things I just mentioned, it's still, I think the design of it, the residential design guidelines still apply because these help development blend into the hillside the way that we want, the way that's outlined in the general plan in this document. So anyway, that's what my comments were about. And I have confidence that as this moves on to the design review commission, that they'll be able to work with that more. But I also want to make sure that we all think, everybody comes to this from a different place, but I want to make sure that we all think about it and make sure that we're fully digesting these documents so that this phase 1 can be well coordinated with phase 2 in the design review commission's work. So I think that's all I've got. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other comments? Does not appear so. Vice Chair Radnich.
Yep, thanks, Chair. I'll just say I personally can make all the findings. I do appreciate that the applicant, we asked the applicant to consider shifting the house more or less north to hug the driveway. They did that. We asked them to, look at different driveway designs. The applicant did that. So I think we also need to trust in the process that the applicant, he's done what he's said he would do or what we had asked him to do. So I think we need to trust that for the access to East Bay Mud, the East Bay Mud access as well. And ultimately, he's the property owner, so I'm not personally hung up on that issue. I was fine with the previous siting of the residence, but I do appreciate, and I'm fine with it being where it's at now, and I can make the findings. Thanks.
Thank you. Commissioner Sturm.
Sorry, I just forgot one note. The other thing that came up with my check-in with the Design Review Commission, this is more to give the applicant a heads up and then maybe inform future applications like this. They said that they would likely want to request a site section through the house and through some of the site, maybe extending down to the closest neighbors below, just to see the relationship there. And I actually thought that that was a requirement. That's something that we typically see in some of these applications. So I didn't go back and check to see if it's a requirement for hillside development applications. But if it's not, maybe it's something we should look at adding, or it's something that staff should request. And then also, when you look at the ridge line map, mean, this house is sitting almost smack dab on the ridge line. And it would be good on the plan to actually show the ridge line and the setback. They're only showing the setbacks from the property lines. So I think the plan set was very basic, and they definitely need to, they're going to be, I know in the next phases, they're going to be adding more detail and context, but those are two things that I think the Design Review Commission is going to want to look for, and that I would like to see in future applications like this to come before the Planning Commission. That's it.
Thank you. Any other comments? Greg?
When the commission was discussing trail matters, I reached out via text message to the PTR director and asked if he was available to join, if so asked. So he's hopped on the Zoom. So if you have any questions for the PTR director of Garden Trails, he's available, or you can move forward with continuing your deliberations and motion.
Do we have questions? No, it appears no. Thank you, though. Appreciate that. I mean, I'll weigh in quickly. I appreciate the fact that we asked for some movement in the siting that had happened. We asked for less grading. We've got less grading. We don't have more tree removal with the movement and less visibility. There was one picture, if I recall, from a neighbor downhill that could still see the visibility issue, but we did not hear this time around. So I'm hoping that this cured that visibility issue for them too. So I think it hit all the marks, at least that we made on the siting and our other factors. And with that, again, trusting that the Design Review Commission can move forward on the other issues. I can make the findings that we're required to make tonight. That's where I am. With that, I know Commissioner Heising said he was open to making a motion.
Yeah. Thank you, Chair. I'll go ahead and make a motion, but before that, I wanted to comment or address Commissioner Stern's comments. I think she was very articulate and put her position well. I guess one of my thoughts is, because of the way that location was, or that house was sitting in that particular location, it wasn't really viewable except from very far distances, and not from the lower elevations, more across the valley. And then also, that's why I was able to readily go to making the findings. And also, I think one of the things we talked about at the first meeting is that tower is on that northwest, the farthest side of the building from the edges of the hill. So that, in my mind, helped decrease the impact of the tower, in my mind. And then to specifically to the residential design guidelines, that one picture you showed, the lower one, the upper one was bunkered into the hill, and then the lower one was just smack right on the top of the hill. Yes, that's the case here on this little knoll, but there's also a hill and a ridge line behind that, the knoll that this house is proposed on, so that house isn't silhouetting. It would not silhouette in the skyline, because you have something behind it. You have tree canopy and a higher area behind it. So that's helping me. That's helping me being able to make the findings and make the recommendation. But I wanted to just address what Commissioner Sturm said, and that I heard what she said, and I understand what she's saying. So with that, I'll make a motion that we adopt the mitigated negative declaration and adopt Planning Commission Resolution 2021-15, approving the project subject to conditions.
Do I have a second? I believe.
Oh, no, actually, sorry. I just saw something in the resolution. And I just want to make sure I'm reading this right before we vote. It's on, of the staff report, PDF page 11.
Mhm.
And at the very bottom, it's item 4. It says, based on the above findings, the Design Review Commission hereby approves a request. So am I reading this wrong?
It may just be a typo that I can correct
Okay, thank you.
before finalizing the document. Apologies about that.
Oh, no, that's fine. I might be reading it wrong. So yeah, if you could just check item 4 at the bottom of PDF page 11. Thank you.
So I'll amend my, with that friendly amendment, I'll amend my my motion to include reference to the planning commission if the resolution refers to design review.
I will second.
Okay, with that, we will take a vote. Commissioner Heising,
Aye.
Commissioner Labange,
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio,
Aye.
Commissioner Mason,
Aye.
Commissioner Sturm,
Aye.
Vice Chair Radnich,
Aye.
and Chair Farzan, aye. We have a 7-0 vote and a 14-day appeal period. Thank you. We will now move to item number 6, new public hearing, 6A, which is V30-99CC Rev Bistro RB zoning.
Planning technician Josh Muller is coming into the meeting to provide you the staff report.
Alrighty, good evening, commissioners. We may have lost the record for fastest meeting, but maybe this will be the record for fastest item. We will.
I'm timing, go.
So, okay, so before us tonight is a V30-99CC, and this is a bit of a unique and wonky one where it is a change of conditions request for a previously approved shared parking request. And the shared parking request, as you'll see in the attachments of the staff report, was retroactively assigned this variance number, but it was approved in 1999. And essentially what it is a request from one of the tenants in space A in the conditions. Right now it is Rev Bistro. They are requesting a change of conditions to allow them to open at 5 p.m. instead of 5:30. And I will do a quick screen share so we can, or I won't. Greg, if you can let me share my screen.
He doesn't want you to have the records.
All right.
Slowing it down on purpose.
So it is at 960 Moraga, if you're familiar, right across from Buffett Elementary. It's got Rev Bistro, SWAT, a dry cleaner, and a nail salon. And the request is, as I said, to change that condition so they can open at 5 p.m. As far as the recommendation goes, staff recommends that the commission conduct a public hearing, review the application and report, and let me get the number quickly, and adopt Planning Commission Resolution 2021-16 approving the change of condition.
Great. Thank you. Do we have any questions for staff on this one? No. All right. Thank you. Do we have anything from the applicant?
Laura Magoo is coming into the meeting.
Hello, everyone. I know a couple of you, not many of you, but so I'm Laura. My husband and I are the owners of Rev in Lafayette, and we just kindly ask that you can approve this. I don't know exactly how this works, as Greg has been so kind to work with me on this, because I know how to run restaurants. I don't know about planning commissions and all that kind of stuff. But basically, to properly maintain a profitable business, Lafayette is an early dining community. And so 5 p.m. is just an ideal time to open. Postino's started opening at 4 and is capturing a lot of business then. We don't want to be open earlier than 5. I know there's issues with parking. With the COVID, there's a lot of change of business and traffic patterns. The dry cleaner now closes at 3. And we bring a lot of guests from the Oakland area, from Berkeley area, from a lot of people outside who are used to a lot more urban environments. The first 2 years we were open, we had nightly complaints about limited parking. And I can say that I don't think that I've heard a parking complaint in probably 6 months or a year easily. And we've been busy. People are used to walking a little bit longer. They're taking Ubers. There's a public lot just not even a block away from us. And now that Lafayette Elementary has expanded their parking, even if when they go back to doing nighttime events, there's still that additional parking over there. So we just ask for you to consider that. We love being a part of the Lafayette community. The last 18 months just really showed us what a blessing it is to be in Lafayette. And so it's a simple dollars and cents. We can't make up the revenue by being open later. Lafayette people and surrounding people don't go out to eat after 8:30 at 9 o'clock at night. They just don't, which is what happens in Walnut Creek. I have friends that own restaurants in Walnut Creek. They're seating people at 9, 10 o'clock at night. We can't get people in that late. So we just can't make up revenue by not being open later. So we just ask for you to consider it, and thank you.
Thank you very much. Do we have any questions? Commissioner Maggio.
Well, this is just a comment. I want to congratulate you on your Michelin recognition.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. Well
Thank
deserved.
you. It caught us by surprise. It was during our 2-week closure, and we were actually in the middle of renting kayaks for our daughter's birthday, and my phone just started going nuts. But it's fun. Michelin is something that you can't petition for. You can't pay off, or there's a lot of those awards that if you have a PR firm, you can get it, and Michelin is not one. So, and with my husband being French, it's a huge honor. So. We find out on the 29th what it officially means, but even just being in the book. So thank you very much. We're honored.
All right, I'll open up the floor to any public comment we have, if we have any.
If you would like to make a public comment, go ahead and raise your hand now, please. None.
Great, thank you. This is where we bring it back to you to see if you have any closing thoughts or statements.
No.
Okay. That is also a good way to end it. So thank you for that. With that, I will bring this back to the commission. I usually go last, but I'll say just for the record, I've been to the restaurant more than once. So just clarity there. It's a great restaurant, and I can make the findings. I think the 30 minutes isn't much of an issue considering where everybody else is open, and I don't think parking is an issue. I've actually parked down the street myself to go to BART way back when I used to ride BART. So I think all this stuff is available. I can make the findings, but I'll open up the floor. Commissioner Labange.
I can make the findings, and I'm not going to disclose if I've been there, but it was very good every time.
Commissioner Maggio.
I'd like to move that we approve resolution 2021-16, subject to conditions.
I do have a second.
Second.
Got it. Thank you. With that, we will take vote. Commissioner Heising.
Aye.
Commissioner Labange.
Aye.
Commissioner Maggio.
Aye.
Commissioner Mason.
Aye.
Commissioner Sturm.
Aye.
Vice Chair Radnich.
Aye.
Chair Farzan, aye. So 7-0 vote. Is this a 14-day appeal period on this too? Okay, so there's a 14-day appeal period on this, but it's approved right now. Congratulations. With that, we will move to item number 7, other business. We need an ARC volunteer for October 1st. This, so I should say, is Commissioner Mason.
Yeah, I haven't done it in a while. I'll take it.
Okay, there we go. Thank you.
I'll volunteer for the next one. Usually I can't look at my calendar before someone volunteers, but that one I can't do. So if you want to put me down for the next one, I'm sure I can make it happen.
Okay. I put it in my notes, but we'll bring it up again though, for the record. I'm kidding. Item number 8, commissioners' reports. Wow, none. All right. Item number 9, planning director's report.
3 items. Tomorrow is a GPAC meeting, so tune in for that. They're continuing. Well, they're continuing their work. There's been good progress on the mission statement, still tabulating and cogitating on the community survey results. But there was good participation on that. So GPAC tomorrow night. AB 361 passed, and the governor signed it, allowing for continuation of meetings like this over Zoom. So our communications analyst is working on protocols. Last Monday night, rather Tuesday night, the counts, one or the other, I apologize. It was a long Monday night meeting that went into Tuesday night as well. So last week, the city council approved $50,000 to upgrade the equipment in the Don Tatson Community Hall and the Arts and Sciences Discovery Center, the 2 primary meeting rooms at the library and learning center, which would allow for live streaming, both audio and video. And so more to come on that, but they're diligently working on that, and we'll let you know more as soon as we know more. But the bill did pass, and so we'll be able to continue in this fashion for the foreseeable future. And then the third item, as I've reported previously, we did submit at the council's direction an appeal of Lafayette's RENA allocation of 2,114 units. We did, so we are on day 1 of I think 8 or 9 days of appeal hearings. I believe the number of jurisdictions that appealed is 28. So our appeal hearing is this coming Friday. So Mayor Kendall, Councilmember Doss, and Diana Elrod and I will be attending that, making our presentation, and the administrative board, acting as the appeals board, can render a preliminary decision, discuss it, continue it, or simply render a decision at the basically late October. So we'll let you know more when we know more.
Thank you. Commissioner Labange.
Greg, did you say that some had already started or they're starting this week? And the reason, if some have already processed their appeal, do they render judgment immediately? And if so, has there been any movement is really what I want to know.
ABAC has advised that the board can issue a preliminary ruling at the day, at that time and place. The first day of appeal hearings is this coming Friday, and we are on day 1 in the 6th position. So there are 7 scheduled. We're in position 6. No movement today.
Sorry, you said that. I should have heard that. Okay, thank you.
Just one follow-up to that. Administratively, if the city were to lose that, what is the next potential from there? Is it court, or is there another administrative step, if you know?
To my knowledge, there are no additional administrative steps. I don't believe it's appealable upwards to the executive board. I think there is one opportunity to appeal. They render a decision on it, and then arguably we could file suit, although it is not at all clear that there is any statute under which that is feasible. So,
thank you. One other, so you said tomorrow is another GPAG meeting. It's interesting because usually I get a ton of emails, etc., about GPAG meetings, but not this one. This one I actually didn't know. So I was just wondering, is there anything different for this one?
not to my knowledge, and now I'm questioning.
Yeah, I just know, because I get it from both from the city and different groups saying, but this is the first time I didn't get anything for it tomorrow. So it's just interesting.
We definitely have one tomorrow.
Okay.
I will talk to Sarah and Renata and make sure that e-notification did go out.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you. Unless anyone has anything further, I will officially adjourn tonight's meeting. Thanks, everyone. Have a great rest of the week.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Thanks very much.
Night.
Night.
Night.